Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to season 4 of Encounter. Today we have a very special guest. We have Sradha and Manna with us in the studios of the MBC. Sradha, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Roshan.
And allow me to present you. You are a specialist in couples counseling, but Sradha is also very well versed in the field of mindfulness. Sradha, you were last on Encounter over 2.5 years, and we spoke about communication between couples.
Yes.
But you have really specialized in the field over the last 2.5 years, and many people have come to see you. You have also developed new techniques that are very helpful to couples nowadays. The first question that I want to ask you is, couples nowadays, when we look at figures and stats, there are more divorces than weddings, not only in Mauritius, but around the world. And I personally think that one of the main reasons is a lack of communication, or could be pressure of society, compatibility. What have been your findings over couples working out or not working out over the past years, or even more recently with COVID?
Over the last 6 months, I've had a lot of couples seeking for counseling, because I think people realize that there's a way that they can get help. And that's what we do, right? Couple counselors have learned how to deal with couples and how to help them practice, new behaviors in between the sessions so that their lives become easier and happier.
Is it a fact that seeking advice for couples is taboo in Mauritius?
Maybe many people don't know about couples counseling existing here in Mauritius, but I think the more we are talking about it, people try to get help. And like you mentioned, advice, it's less of advice, it's more of encounters, like we would say, between the couple, where they would sit like we are sitting here, a little bit closer, and then they would talk about themes that they want to discuss. Because in normal conversation, people just bring everything that is annoying them in their couple. They just bring everything to the table, and that's too much. And then effective communication is more towards, let me talk in themes. So both people learn to talk in themes, and they address the issue in a simpler way that is more digestible for the men, I would say.
For the men?
Yes, because for females, we have like one story in our brain where everything that doesn't work is just stored there. So that, let's say, after 5, 10 years, she would say, what you did to me or what your family did to me, she would remember that. And the husband would say, oh, I don't remember that. And then she would get angrier, So it is basically a difference in the brain functioning, not structure, but the functioning of the brain.
So you would say the main issue nowadays is the functioning and the communication that are different for men and women.
Yes.
This is the main cause of couples not getting along nowadays?
It is about the brain, but it's also about training, because we haven't heard in our school system or university system anywhere where it teaches you how to address a difficulty that you have with someone else, and also how to reply to that person, because most of us, we are really in our emotions. When we get angry, we get aroused, and that's when we speak, which is a wrong thing, because when I'm angry and I'm aroused, then not nice words would come out of my mouth.
It hurts the feeling of the woman that the husband does not remember.
Yeah,
But how do you reconcile this?
So one of the things that we teach in couples therapy is about the difference between male and female brains. So when women understand how the male brain works and the male understands how the female brain works, then they become more accepting of each other. It's not you or me, but it's the structure of our brains and the socialization.
Sradha, I'll invite you to watch this small video, and I will invite the viewers also. Let's have a look. According to a study carried out between 1993 and 2018 by Statistics Mauritius, marriage rates are declining while divorce rates are on the rise. The marriage rate fell from 21.1% in 1993 to 15.9% in 2018. The number of divorced persons increased from 1.4% in 1993 to 3.8% in 2018. Generally, women tend to marry men who are older than them. However, over the past 25 years, the age difference between husband and wife narrowed from 4.9 years in 1993 to 3.1 years in 2018. Welcome back. Sradha, you mentioned earlier that you encourage your couples to work on themes. Can you share with us a few of the techniques that you encourage couples to practice so that they can become more understanding and open to one another?
Yeah, so one big theme is, let's say, the couple decides because they have a lot of things going on for them, each one. So then I would ask, is there a theme that you would like to talk about here?
What is the most common theme?
It's about household chores on women's side, and for men, it's more about being available for sex.
Okay.
Like you're always tired and you're not available when I need you. You know, so it's related. Can you see how it's related?
It's no more men being the dominant partner in the relationship. I think it
Sure.
has equalized. So I think in 2021 we can address this differently.
Sure, because before, women were more submissive. They would let go a lot of things, but now they just want their rights. They want to be respected. But what I was saying is that it's not only household chores. There are things that are being done outside the house. For example, running errands and repairing things that are not working. So one way that it works in couple counseling is that we have both face reality a bit, like make lists of what do you do in the house and what is there to be done. So when they talk about it, I think the main thing here is not about the theme, but it's about the listening. So when the woman talks about, I need your help more with this, then I would train the man to mirror that. So that when he would repeat what the woman is saying, the woman would feel heard, right? And she would hear her own message. And that has to become habit, because the thing is that we talk much more than we listen. And our message doesn't get through. Like, let's say a classic example is, can you keep your shoes away to this place on the shoe stand, let's say?
Yes.
So I would ask that several times over weeks, over months, and because it's your habit, you do it. So then I would start yelling, and it goes on and on.
Okay, it's
right?
more like a reflex, like
It is.
built-in habits that have been there for years.
It's a lot about that, because see, listening is a very difficult habit to cultivate. This is why in couple counseling, we do that over an hour and a half, and then in between the couple would practice. And that makes the difference, because you would not react to the message that is being sent to you.
How does speaking about that help either the wife or the husband to better understand? I just want to understand a little bit the psyche behind it, in fact.
Right. So she would get more help, or sometimes nowadays the man is doing a lot more and she would help more. So it would be a cooperation. Both of them are cooperating to make it work for them, for their couple, right? So both benefit from that. But I think, like you mentioned, when people just get married, maybe the first 3 years is a kind of adjustment of how we want our lives to be. And that is the difficulty where people divorce a lot these days, because it's either fight or flight system. That's
Especially
what they
during
do.
the first 3 years.
Especially, there are studies around that where people separate more around that, because they think there's a better person outside. And there isn't, because many people who have separated, when they meet other people, it's the same root cause of me not being able to send my message clearly and concisely and precisely, and the other person not listening or bickering all the time, in the marriage. And I think one thing, when there is effective communication, you are able to speak of anything.
Shraddha, let's say just after the wedding, you have the honeymoon. So let's say it's a 2 weeks, 3 weeks period, wedding and honeymoon. So after that, it's a 3-year adaptation period.
A big part of a good marriage is premarital counseling, where you talk about things. You talk about, hey, what do you do when you wake up? Who's going to do this and that? How are we going to manage our leisure time? How are we going to manage work time? Who are we going to visit during weekends? Because, you know, in Mauritius, there is that cultural aspect. There's a lot of interference from parents.
It's a social pressure.
It's a big social pressure that the new couple is not able to handle because they are themselves adjusting to a new life.
So you would say that there's a massive lack of counseling alongside love leading to marriage that is missing.
I think there is, because see, when our kids don't behave well, we don't divorce. When our parents are not good to us, we don't divorce, but we divorce the husband and the wife.
Couples lack counseling before a wedding. It's not all love and then honeymoon. And also becoming aware of what are the responsibilities that are expected from them, but from one another going forward. So I invite you to watch the next video. The bond between lovers is special. Relationships grow over time to include others, and this change in the life of the partner makes priorities become complicated. Good communication skills are the keys to any successful relationship because relationships are emotional and rely on interpersonal verbal and non-verbal exchanges between the two people involved. Some effective communication techniques that couples can use are: learn not to talk at the same time, but instead to listen. It is important not to interrupt each other. Number 2, to think before speaking, or else it will lead to regrets after, because a partner may say something that can't be taken back ever. Number 3, remember that communication is to make the relationship bond tighter and not to break up. Try putting oneself in the other person's shoes. Number 4, no hitting below the belt. It means to mind one's language. One of the things that will terminate effective communication is name-calling or bringing up something that happened a long time ago. Number 5, facts. A general rule amongst long-time married couples is partners can ask about something, but if it cannot be proven, let it go. Number 6, participate with sincerity and honesty. A conversation is between two people. Silent treatment is not permitted. The opposite of love is not hate, but indifference. Number 7, observation. One way to communicate is to hear what the partner is not saying. Two people in a relationship get to learn each other's fears, goals, values, and dreams. Number 8, body language is a non-verbal communication technique. Even though body language is a thing that is to be observed, it speaks loudly. Number 9, respect. Agree to disagree. Never lose sight of the fact that you two are on the same team and there is no reason to degrade each other or fight because there will always be another issue down the road. Number 10, witnesses or third-party intervention. Many couples seek counseling, a trusted friend or a family member to play a neutral party in an important decision. This is not a bad idea. A third person may bring a different perspective to the situation. Sradha, we have just watched a video on counseling for couples, whether they are married or not yet married. The couples that come to see you in Mauritius, do you also do that homework again with them? Does it help?
I think one thing is that they haven't thought about what the issue is because they think it's the person. There are two persons, it's you. It's not me. Very often it's not me, it's you. And each one thinks the same thing. But here they come to realize that they are not communicating in the right way. And also they're letting the emotions come in between. Like I mentioned before, if I'm angry, then of course I'm going to say abusive words to you. And that wound stays and that creates distance between the couple. So instead of coming together after marriage, they are already the little things that happen in life, they start distancing, right? So that is what happens. But when we talk of premarital counseling, you don't have the facts yet, because in Mauritius, not many people live together. They don't cohabit before marriage, right? So when they come after marriage, they have the facts. You know, how do you behave when you wake up? What is it you expect from me? And whether your mother is going to send curries upstairs, you know, where we're going to live, how our finance is going to be. So there's a lot more themes than what we talk about household chores. It's a lot about finance, like I said, leisure. It's about communication. It's about a lot of other things.
So there is a need for a very honest, genuine conversation that needs to be had between the partners.
Sure, sure. And what we address more in premarital counseling is more about you listening to what I have to say. And this is when they learn listening without being challenged too much, because the facts are not there yet. You know, they talk about themselves. What is it I expect? It's like giving thought to how our life is going to be when we start living together. Because what they know about each other is more like their best selves. They're going out well-dressed, they're going out to restaurants. That's not life, right? It's part of life.
Uh, to those couples who are facing difficulties, what advice would you give to them to help them?
I like, my motto is there is a way. So why don't we find that way? Because see, when we learn a new language or we ride a bike, we stumble, we fall, we rise, we continue. But for marriage, what we do is when it doesn't work, we try without new tools, and it doesn't work because we are not bringing new behaviors. So I would like people to try what it's all about. Like, when I'm thinking of this, can you imagine a doctor not having the tools he needs and doing surgery?
That would be possible.
Right. So that's what we are doing in marriage. We're just going thinking that we know. And what is playing during that marriage is just all the behaviors and patterns that we have learned from our families of origin.
So does that mean that partners give up too easily nowadays?
They do. Yes, they do. And they always think that the neighbor's grass is greener.
But in fact, it's greener where you water it.
That's what we're talking about. So using the tools to water, you know, the relationship, right? And knowing what is going wrong. Because when we have problems, we're just not asking the next question of what is it that I should learn for this to work. Because remember, initially, we talked about the dream, about the love, and everything was perfect. So it's there. The basis is there.
Do you believe that couples should do everything together, or both should work their own side, have their own group of friends, but also have some time together? Is it important that they have activities together? I'm not saying household activities.
Yes.
I believe that both should participate in household activities.
Yes, sure.
And share it.
Sure.
But do you think it is important for couples to have at least one activity every week? Let's say dancing, or, well, not everyone has time for it, but at least go out for a dinner or do something, one activity every week together or every 2 weeks. Would you share this opinion?
Yes, of course. And that should be planned, because when you don't plan it, no, it doesn't happen.
All right.
Because we are consumed in life, right? So I think this is one major point where we should try to keep the couple and try to reduce the distance. And one other thing that I would add here is that couples should take 1 hour or 1.5 hours to talk about what's happened over the week, right? So that
Okay.
it doesn't come in little doses every day.
So it's like a debriefing?
Yes, of course. And then when there is listening, then there is less, you know, problems inside the psyche, because otherwise there is the tape that runs inside. You don't care about me, or why are you doing that? And I'm not able to voice out everything. And that, you know, just accumulates over time and it explodes.
But are you not supposed to be doing that when you have a common dinner at night?
Not over dinner.
Never over dinner?
No, you don't talk about problems while driving or over dinner.
Please
You enjoy
enlighten
your
me.
dinner. You enjoy your dinner
Of
with your
course.
family.
Okay.
Yes. But then there is a special time. Let's say I ask couples to have this kind of setting, two chairs facing each other. And that's where we would talk about our problems, not any time and every time or in front of anyone.
So you're saying once a week for 1 hour,
Yes.
couples should sit like we are right now and have a genuine conversation?
Yes. Over what bothered them. So
What,
it starts with positive things. What I appreciated with you over this week was that you kept your shoes in the right place.
okay, so that's very interesting. Can we just talk about this? So over the whole week, the person will make a list of the things that he or she did not like. But it is very important to start with the things that they like first,
Right.
because then it sets a right tone to this conversation.
Sure, sure. And we are rewiring the brain to see what the person is doing, and that validates the person, and the person would do more.
So that's also a way of showing gratefulness that I appreciate what you did.
Sure, sure. Otherwise, we are more negatively biased. Our brains remembers things that are not working,
Yes.
and this is what couples learn as well.
You will never hear someone share uh, a good dream they had. They will always complain about a bad dream they had.
Yes.
Over time, does this conversation become more and more positive because they are finally getting in tune to one another?
Yes, I think it's a lot of learning about validating the partner, and that we don't need to wait till Friday to do that. We can do that as we are doing things, but then we have to keep it, like give it in a strong dose so that the person feels good about himself or herself. Because these things are not validated enough. We talk about problems, like you said,
And that also builds trust
a lot,
between the couple,
a lot.
good communication.
Yes. And I think self regulation as well. You learn to deal with your own emotions. When you're not happy or you're angry, you need to be able to tolerate that until the time comes for discussion. And I think one important thing you mentioned is not that consuming love, like you have to be together all the time. You need to have your eyes and then come together to have the we for certain things. And that works wonderfully.
Fantastic. Sradha, it has been a pleasure having you for this episode of Encounter. Thank you very much for sharing your wonderful insight and experience.
Yeah.
I have no doubts that we will be seeing you again for another season. All the best with helping couples working out better for a more successful marriage.
Thank you, Roshan, for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of this episode of Encounter. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. If you have any questions or queries on the guest or on the topic that was discussed, drop an email. It's encounter@mbc.itnet.mu. Until the very next program, goodbye.